Hi everyone, welcome, join in. This is my Facebook Live for April, doing an energy update because I woke up this morning and I felt that things were a bit different, and this has happened a lot over the last decade or so, especially since, well actually more like since 2012, around that period of December 2012 when things really started to shift in a big way, and that's when a lot of the great awakening of this epoch we're in now started, although there were also energy waves and periods before that. If you're hearing any kind of noises in the background, that's my naughty kitten who made me late for the live today, scratching in the window right now. So this morning I have this cute little kitten called Buddy, but he's a real troublemaker these days. So this morning he uprooted my plant and all the dirt went everywhere. Then he wrecked my curtains, so we'll see what he does today. So this feeling of energy shifts has been happening for some time now. And so this morning as I woke up, and I was also feeling it recently, but there was a sense of another shift, which again, it's sort of been continuing from recently, but there was a new flavor of it this morning. And I know we're all on a different path. We all feel things differently and go through things differently. We're all, going at our own pace and having our own experiences. There's a lot of things that we share together as a collective, things that we're going through and feel, and other things that you might feel completely isolated and different. So if you're not resonating with the higher energy right now, that's perfect. You're in the perfect place. You're where you need to be. Not everybody is the same. And it doesn't mean that this energy isn't here. Sometimes the sun can be shining, except you're under a rock, depressed and crying with your curtains closed, right? So it's all different for everybody. So I remember the time that I first felt a feeling of something different in the air. Now this is before I even had any vague idea that I would end up doing this intuitive work. So at that time it was 2004 and I had a baby, and I remember actually, I don't know, anyway, it doesn't matter, around that time. And I remember just going about my daily life as a new mum, and then one day it's like I looked up in the air and I was like, something's different, something has changed. And I had no vocabulary for any of this energy talk at all, but I knew on a deep level something was different. So I think I started Googling and looking things up, and there was something going on at that time, some kind of energy gate or something that I found on some website, and I was like, oh thank God, I'm not mad after all. And it was a really huge validation that I was feeling things, and that something was indeed shifting and changing at that point. So when you have these experiences, hi NH Perry, sorry, I don't know your first name, but hi, thank you for your message. And Michael, okay, so sometimes we have these feelings, these inclinations, these sort of intuitive moments, and these it's like this little light bulb goes off, and really pay attention to those and trust them, for they are indeed real and true, and it is happening. So I'd like to hear from you about when you've sensed something changing or shifting. And we all now have this cosmic knowledge blooming and this cosmic vocabulary. Those of us listening, those of us who are becoming more and more sensitive, intuitive, aware, awake, and it's this whole other language, but it's a language that feels natural for me and other people who share these kinds of experiences, because it's what we intuitively always felt was true, or that we had another sense of knowing which maybe didn't fit into the world that we were living in, and the world around us. Okay, so just to pause that for a moment and let everyone know, I'm just going to do an introduction today about energy shift at the moment, and then I'll do some energy work, bringing everyone into this new vibration coming through, okay? And you can always watch it later as well. Okay, so, and you're welcome to pop a message as we're live, okay? So, when it comes to energy, we are all on a different, as I mentioned before, we're all on a different path. We're all sort of at a different point. And those of you who are energy aware, you begin to, as I said before, just have this sort of sense of knowing, or like a little light bulb goes off. Now is a time in particular when it's a time for activation and action. For those of us who feel like we're old souls, or we're light workers, or intuitive, spiritually awakening, empathic, sensitive, those of us who resonate with some of those terms, which are just terms such as, you know, the crystal children, the indigos, and all of that. So we're at this turning point now, it feels. So again, I'm connecting with the angels now. I actually am pretty ill prepared because of my naughty kitten. But anyway, it must be for a reason to lighten things up, right? So I actually haven't even gone through my whole thing of opening my psychic senses, but this information is still coming through intuitively. And it was the angels who gave me a nudge this morning to say, make alive, get this message across, that it's like we're all igniting, or there's like a switch igniting, and that's what they're saying now. And they're showing me an image of a car and trying to start your engine. And you know that feeling when you're like trying to start your engine and you're pretty much flooding it and it's just making that terrible noise and it's choking and not going to start? We all know that feeling, don't we? And actually, as I said that, I feel energetically this right up, this sort of like ill feeling right up to my throat. And we talked a lot about the throat chakra in my last live, didn't I? So NH Parry has just said, so bear with me because it is tricky doing these lives because I've got to read these little messages, but at least I'm not sideways these days. She says, my recent energy shift has been awful. Yeah, look, it can be awful because I mentioned in my April YouTube video, the energy of April, that there's a push me, pull me effect. And as the light is coming, the darkness encroaches and starts to push back, right? And we are just all in our own little journey. So whatever your stuff is, it's obviously come up rising for a reason, and you're going through your own experiences. And of course, when I speak to one, I speak to all. And, you know, and there's lots of cracks and holes. And, you know, it's time now for that light to seep through. And that's where I feel my role is today, to allow the light, or to assist you in allowing the light to seep through those cracks and crevices and into your genes and DNA and cells, and allow for those activations to take place, so that you can align with the energy. So I'll just continue reading that message. Late Feb, early March, things started to shift. Beautiful. Things at my apartment building got bad, okay? And I've been looking for another apartment, and all the stress. Okay, I know what it's like to feel stressed. So this morning, as I mentioned, I woke up early, full of this like, this highly intense, electrifying energy, and that it's time to make a video and be a facilitator for energy. And then yeah, the kitten did that thing, and then it put me right out of balance. And so I had to drop my kids off to school, and I hadn't had my shower yet. And you know those days, right? Things are just all out of whack all of a sudden. But I knew just to let it go and to take it one step at a time. And things do change and they do shift. Sometimes we just need to be a bit patient and allow for change. Sometimes we resist change. I did talk about momentum and resistance in my April video. And when we resist change, we're acting out of fear. We feel it coming. So just like animals have their senses and they know that something's coming, so do we. But we're not always conscious of it in our human selves. Yeah, that's my kitten doing something now. I have no idea what, if you heard that. So it's really interesting to note that right now with this sort of energy shift happening, pay attention, because you might be receiving sparks or ignitions, as the angels are saying, back to the car analogy, of light, of high frequencies, and of something that needs to come to us in order to grow. The way the angels showed it to me this morning, although I only spent a short while on it, and I was just beginning to sort of integrate the knowledge about it. But they were saying, you know, when we think about awakening and ascension and all those things, and, you know, activations and shifts, and we think of like coming up higher, right? But they were saying it's not necessarily higher. It's higher, but it's also sideways. And that's where I was a little bit confused initially, because I thought, okay, when we think of sideways, we think of a sideways route, like we're getting sidetracked, or a little side avenue. But then I understood, as I began to integrate that energy and understanding, that sideways was denoting, so upwards and sideways as out, so spreading out. So this is the feeling of spreading out the energy out of yourself, but also wider. So it's about width. So it's like, for example, when we think about expanding our energy field, or when we do our protection bubbles, we think of it as expanding outwards, but also in all directions. But for some reason, with this particular feeling from this morning, it was about outwards this way, like sideways, okay? And Mary says, hi Mary, glad you could join live this time. Thank you, I'm so glad you're here too, okay. And hi Irene and others, okay. So this feeling of energy going outwards, do you get a feel of that now? So there is, so you can envision just generally energy going outwards and like a nice ripple effect, and what does that mean? It means that the ripple effect means that it goes out and out and out in these like rings, radiating rings. Hi Sam, welcome. Sam is my admin moderator for a couple of my groups. Thank you so much for joining in. That's awesome. I'm excited. Okay, so those ripple effects that go outwards are like rings, like think of them as ripples in a pond, and they go out and out and out, or like sound waves. And energy shifts are like waves going out and out and out. And then because they're waves, they kind of have this radiating feeling of swooshing into you and back out. And with that, it's best to ride the waves rather than resist them. But as I was talking about the sideways feeling, it's kind of like your landscape. There seems to be a word coming up for April, landscape. Think of it as a landscape. I mean, we are here on Earth. Some people would say it's flat Earth, but that's a whole other thing. I don't get into the flat Earth thing because it's too hard to wrap my head around understanding the science of it. But and Shannon says, hi, thank you for sharing. Hello, welcome back. Okay, so this feeling of going outwards, again, is like a horizontal landscape, like a big giant meadow, right? And we are here on Earth, and that's where we're reminded that we need to be connected to Earth. So when these energy shifts do happen, it's like all this light is streaming in, and just think of it as all this light on a meadow, since we've got this horizontal landscape analogy happening, and then it's helping all the flowers to bloom. Because a lot of us on this meadow of life have been feeling wilted, feeling down, drooped, or feeling out of sorts, or our buds have been closed. And that's always a good analogy. The angels over time have made the flower bud analogy from time to time. It's really what it's like. And if you think of us on Earth as these flowers that are being moved to and fro depending on weather patterns and energy around us, we really are under the elements. So on this Earth plane, we're not only under the elements of Earth, but we're also under the spell, or the larger arena of something else far greater, far bigger than we could ever imagine. And that's also what makes us wave to and fro. So we have this natural, positive, helpful, divine cosmic energy, and we could call it our superscape. And then if you think of that opposite of light, so that darkness, and I don't want to get too much into that today, but you know, obviously, as you know, like that just runs through our everyday life, from any little thing, any little negative energy thing, from small to huge, right? But you know, that is sort of around as well. So when we want to blend in and welcome in and really sink into, and when I say sink, the angels always give me this, we could sink, S-I-N-K, down, or we can sink, S-Y-N-C, sink, so sink in. I really like that word because it reminds me of, and it's the base word of, synchronicity. When you synchronize, like synchronized swimming, we're joining in the flow, and it's like if we're all synchronized swimmers, although each unique, not being sheep, of course, then we're sinking into the flow of the movements, and that's what we want to do when this energy is moving. So yeah, give me a hands up if you are feeling somewhat of a shift at the moment, and you might not be feeling it now, and that's fine. You might be feeling it at another point, okay, and there's plenty of time for that. So that reminds me of on, I think it's April 5th, so in a few days time we have the new moon in Aries, and I talked about that in my April video, and that gives us a feeling of great new beginnings, not only because it's new moon energy, but it's that Aries energy, which is really fiery and active, right? So because Mercury retrograde is no longer in retro position, so retro meaning that idea of moving backwards, and we all feel like we are being put backwards, we're now being I'd say rhythmically plunged forwards. So as we're rhythmically plunged forwards through, let's say, the river of Mercury in, now I can't think what the opposite word to retrograde would be. Can someone share an idea of a word I could use? So a forward movement. Can't think what that is, but anyway, a forward movement, and with that we're swimming towards this Aries energy opening up, and it gives us this spirit, this like goddess spirit or warrior spirit, this active, again, there's that word ignition, ignite, so we think of like a flame igniting, turning on that engine. The angels, and they're laughing now, they're saying we're helping turn on your crusty old engine, okay, because it's being it needs a bit of a rev, okay, so they're showing me now like putting the foot on the pedal and revving it up, right? We need this rev, so like having a bit of a boost. So they're saying it's like an energy boost, so just like you would drink a energy boost drink, they're giving you an actual energy boost, okay. So it's funny, so that idea of ignition blends into activation. So I did talk about activation. Of course, I really knew nothing at the time, because when I do the videos, like my April video for the month ahead, I don't necessarily know in advance that there is going to be, in the angels said in advance, there is going to be activations. It just happens to just come out. Sometimes I haven't knowing in advance because I'm receiving the information constantly or during certain periods, and at other times it's it just happens on the spot, right? Because that's what it's all about. Show up and it happens. All of us who have that intuitive inclination, that's what's happening for us. Okay. So, okay, now, so I've talked about these activations, and that they really mean, like, think of it as light bulbs turning on, because our light bulbs have been dim, or the darkness, they've been dusty. Just think of an old dusty light bulb, or it's blinking because it's like about to go, like the electricity is about to completely be at wipeout level. Some of us have felt really wiped out in March. Or that, and with that comes that feeling of being drained and all of that. So things are turning, and I'm feeling turning for the better. Now they're showing me, when it comes to doing psychic work or working with the angels or, anything in that sphere, it's, if you're open with your third eye, if you're open clairvoyantly, you receive images, and all of you can do this. All of you can receive images, like at any moment you might receive an image or a thought or a word in your mind. Hi Rhiannon. Okay, so so now I've forgotten what it was that I was saying. So what was it? Someone remind me. What was I saying? Oh, the driving wheel. Okay. So when it comes to the driving wheel, they're saying, you know, sometimes, like right now, it's a bit of a let the autopilot do the driving, but at the same time, put your hands on the wheel and do steer somewhat. So it's like if I'm just going to steer into position, and then I can sort of go like this and let the autopilot do the way. That's the image they're showing me. By autopilot, it's really a reference to cosmic energy, the angels and you guides and so on. So speaking of them, they are encouraging us to stay attuned or stay tuned to them, because when we do, then we're more highly attuned, and then we're highly attuned to frequencies, and then we're more highly attuned to messages and discovering what it is that they're trying to say. It's like whispers in the wind. And when we just catch a little sniff of that, and again, it comes to what I was saying previously about having this sudden feeling like something's different or receiving a message. It's like a little whiff of the wind, okay? And then you catch it in that moment, and then it becomes something. Even if it's small, it doesn't matter. Okay, so it can be just a small little snippet, one word or a phrase or sentences. And at the same time, when you do that, you can receive channeled information or do automatic writing, which I did recently, where I just sat down, just got relaxed and tuned in, and then allowed the writing to come forth and messages to come through, which I think the angels were saying that April will be a very spiritual month to open up our senses and become more aligned, more spiritual, more centered within ourselves. So if you're not experiencing this now, I did talk recently about the influence of Libra and with the moon energy. So the full moon will be in Libra later in the month, as it was the previous month, and we do need to be balanced and come back to our center. And I know that's hard when we're living our sort of crazy erratic lives, but the opportunity will be there for you, and just to take heed of that and take a step back when needed. Sometimes when we have these activations, things can feel like they're really opening up, and that we're put on a new, I want to say, either put on a pedestal in a positive way, I mean as in on a platform, or on a, like they're showing like a conveyor belt, so it's allowing you to move forward. They're showing me that image of like at the airport. Well, this image I received once before for a client, where everybody's, you know, those airports where you can either walk or go on that moving conveyor belt, and they showed me that there's people busy walking, but you can just be on the conveyor belt, right? And depending on what the message is for you, that might mean that these people are really busy walking and you are just gliding along, or you're speeding ahead, right? So the idea is of that positive movement forward. Okay. So thank you, Janelle. Okay, that's great. Okay, so yes, I am not necessarily doing personal readings today. I did not say at the beginning, because I just went straight in because I didn't want to be any more delayed. Depending on the messages I receive, I might comment on some messages and I might give some intuitive information, but outside of that, I am just speaking about the energy happening at the moment. Does anyone have any questions at the moment about the energy scape we are in? And again, they seem to be using this word a lot, the scape, like a landscape. Hi, Miriam, so pleased you could join us. You're one of my special ladies, all right? There's lots of you lovely ladies, and I'm not excluding the men there, but welcome, join in, and this is for all of us, right? So we don't need to all feel so alone in our journey, because, you know, we're right here together, and stuff that you've been going through, any of you, that might have been more challenging, you know, a lot of us others have been going through it too, or at another time. So, you know, there is comfort in community, right? So what is your sense of the energy? All of you that are listening right now, what would you like to share about what you're feeling? Or maybe you're not and you're unsure, or just whatever. So you're welcome to pop a note. Okay. So we've talked about those positive waves moving forward. So Sam says, what is the best way to use Aries energy? It can seem harsh. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm an Aries, and I guess I'm more a softer Aries because I have that other side of the personality. But I can be really, really Aries too. And that the idea of the Aries really, when it comes to this energy, is, okay, so Aries can be headstrong, committed to doing something when they get that ignition or that spark of divine inspiration or moment of guidance. So Aries can be quite spontaneous and act on a whim. But so the key here is they're saying, be careful not to be too scattered and scatter your energies all over the place. Like an Aries can have a million projects going on at once and never finish any of them. So yeah, I definitely know about that. The idea is which today I'll help you. So soon when we transition into the energy segment where I'm going to help you sort of attune to the energy, I feel like I'll have to get you all grounded first too, just briefly. Okay, now, so I was just mentioning, I've got some other messages here, but I'm just finishing off about Sam's question. The idea is to utilize the sense of when you feel that moment, whether it's now leading up to the new moon or on the new moon, which is the perfect time, or any time around it, doesn't matter. There's no perfect actually, or days, or weeks following. When you get that moment of divine inspiration, then act upon it, okay? But at the same, because it feels like it's positive, right? And it doesn't mean there needs to be an end goal in sight, but at the same time, try to remain grounded and focused where needed. Aries is also a bit of that fire and drive to really like get that engine started, which seems to be the analogy for today. Okay. Okay, so someone here has mentioned, so NH Parry, thank you. You've mentioned that you saw an Aquarius reading for the moment, and it said, fasten your seatbelts, ready for some kind of liftoff. That's that real feeling of when there's an energy shift. You have a rare and lovely, blessed cycle about to begin. Yes, that feels on point with what's happening. And it is that feeling of, sort of get your back and bottom into your chair and buckle up because you're about to go for a ride. However, it's not a wild ride to me so much as some other times when energy can be more erratic, or when we're seeing the number 5, 555, 55 a lot, or those sort of roller coaster times. It's a bit more melodic and flowy. Mary says she's an Aries too, and very headstrong. So, and have felt scattered lately. Yeah. Scattered is also not just when you're not grounded and not focused, but when things are not just feeling right. And so with you, I would say, without getting too personal, I would just say what I feel around you is I'm clenching my solar plexus, okay? So, Mary Mirabelle, just have that sense of tuning into your body and feeling your gut, because it feels inflamed. And when I talk about your gut, it can be physical too, but also more spiritual, the energy around that solar plexus and around not feeling in control or in power of yourself or your life. So it feels like, like the blanket's been taken away from you. And it's like that expression that they say, which I can't think what it is this second, but when they say like I know, someone's pulled the rug from under you. That's the feeling. So it's left you also feeling scattered, and that feeling of not knowing. Okay, so Shannon says, I love listening to your messages because I still have trouble recognizing that it's energy shifts. And that's okay, because, we're all human here. We're not always meant to, I might not know some of them that are happening too. It's just, it depends on where you are with your own spiritual growth and where you need to be. And sometimes when we're so involved in our everyday lives and we're so human and we've sort of got our helmet on, and which is stopping us from seeing anything beyond it. So they're showing me now, it's like you're wearing this helmet where you can, it's like being actually it's the kind of helmet for rock climbing, cave diving. So and where there's the light on it, the torch, but you can only see, the analogy is it's dark in the cave and it's rocky and there's crevices everywhere and you can only see so far ahead and it's not much and you don't know where it's going, and so someone please throw me a lifeline, right? You want the rope to be cast down to you so that, you know, you have a lifeline. And, you know, the angels are laughing and saying they do provide lifelines. In fact, many. they're so funny. They're like showing me an image of all these lifelines coming down, but we don't always grab them because we don't always see them because we're a bit blinded by things, you know, for whatever reason, right? Our own reasons or whatever else is going on around us. And sometimes we're foggy glassed. Okay, Maribel said, oh my God, you are so right. Thank you. You're welcome. And yes, you're going to do some solar plexus clearing. Beautiful, perfect, exactly what you need. It's quite tense as well, okay? So it's like this. And Mary Boning, my other Mary, because I've got some of my Mary, a few my Marys out there. Perfect analogy, feel in the fog. Yeah, and Mary, actually, without going into too much detail, Mary B, you, I think, were the first person where I got the glasses analogy with the fog, and then it became one of my clairvoyant images since then. So you know exactly what I mean, don't you? So the angels once gave me, so as I was talking before about, you know, and obviously this is all for a reason, you know, I don't know why else I'll be talking about clairvoyant images, but apart from just explaining that to you because that's how they're showing information. But that particular analogy of the foggy glasses is if you picture someone wearing reading glasses or glasses that they need for their sight, for vision, and they're foggy, so they're not seeing right and they just need to be wiped cleared, just like we need to clear our energy. Once also before, the angels did give an analogy of windscreen wipers on a really foggy, dirty car screen. So of course car is another analogy for today. So it's just like a good old wash down. Actually showing me, yeah, some of our, you know, if we're an automobile, we're a bit dirty, we just need a bit of a wash down, right? With the water flowing and a bit of a scrape and a polish and a shine, and then off we go. Shannon said that makes so much sense. Beautiful. Okay, and Mary just said, yes, she still thinks of that, so the glasses analogy. Yeah, it's just funny that how many other clients that became a message for as well, which is great. I love how the angels work. Okay, so if anyone else would like to make a comment about energy in general, or what you've been going through, or a question that's sort of in sync with what I'm saying, or anything like that, perhaps you've received some kind of clairvoyant image before. And also we can receive clairvoyant images in our dreams. So I know that I've been having a lot of dreams lately that I know are like spiritual, and last night I dreamed of all these clients and receiving like envelopes and letters, and then I woke up to like I had like a lot of people wanting sessions right now. So that was interesting, but it was definitely all linked, because often I have a feeling or a dream about a client contacting me, and then they do, and just things like that. So pay attention to what's happening in your dreams, who and what is popping up and why. So you might want to share a recent dream here. Everything has meaning, everything is a symbol. We can't always work it out. We don't always know. We're not meant to know everything, and that can frustrate the hell out of us. And I know that feeling, you know, which is why I often receive messages about, because I did write that article about finding feathers a long time ago, and I know that a lot of people do see that article, and I get a lot of letters about finding feathers and people desperately wanting to know what the meaning is because they found a feather, or they had this magical little feather experience or something else. And, you know, I like to say we don't always know why, and we don't need to know. And the full picture is not always shown to us. So just like I do when I do a reading for someone, sometimes it's just snippets, it's pieces. It's not always the full picture, because we're meant to discover it ourselves as we go along. And just always remember that messages, symbols, pictures, signs, numbers, they can pop up along our journey, and they can just flash before us. And sometimes it's just that moment of knowing. So if you can sort of hang on to that without hanging on in a negative way, but just really like be present in that moment and allow it to expand. So then we go out to that feeling again of expansion. Expansion's what it's all about. It's about spreading ourselves out so that we don't spread ourselves thin. That's what they just said. So spread ourselves out so that we don't spread ourselves thin. So I hope that you can make sense of that. I have a feeling I know what that means, but I'd like to hear your interpretations of that too. So just one more thing I wanted to say while I was on that notion of symbols and meaning, that, and I've said this before, but sometimes symbols, as I said, are not meant to be known, or we don't need to, it's okay to not know why we're seeing a number, right? Or whatever, why we found that brown feather with the purple dots. But something in our subconscious mind is working overtime and putting the pieces together. Something is coding, signaling our brain on some level, or our consciousness to have an understanding or put two and two together. So perhaps you found that brown and purple feather, and then on another day a coin. Perhaps that coin was Granddad saying, you know, I'm here, I'm around you, and perhaps that was his only way of getting through. And for a moment, it made you think of your granddad because it was, say, a penny. And then maybe for a moment, your granddad as a spirit figure, or the angels and guides put that brown feather with the purple dots on your path. And then a part of you had this moment of awakening. Those purple dots became symbols of awakening your divine consciousness, because purple is a very spiritual color, but the brown is suggesting you're very linked to earth. So, and again, if you weren't conscious of that in that moment, something within you, surrounding you, is having an understanding of that, and it's a matter of integrating it on some level. Okay. Mary says, facial, I thought you said massages, but facial images appeared in a painting I started. Oh, beautiful. I'm just seeing that emerge. It's like emerging, isn't it? I had just returned from meeting my grandmother's relatives. We didn't know we had. Well, that's an amazing thing on its own, isn't it? And my grandmother was abandoned at birth. Oh, that feels so sad, just connecting with that. It's a very sad feeling. Abandonment is such a huge feeling, such a huge issue that a lot of people have. And, you know, not, well, if you suffer from some kind of feeling of abandonment from your childhood or any point in your life, it really is a deep wound and trigger for those of you who have felt that, no matter how small or large. Okay, so going on, it says, it was just a wonderful meeting, but the images that appeared on my painting were hauntingly beautiful and eerie at the same time. Well, when you first mentioned about the image, and I had that feeling of it like emerging, it made me think of, if you saw my April video, one of the oracle cards, I mentioned that it began to see a face emerge. So it's kind of like that, and that was kind of like a hauntingly beautiful feeling to it too. So that is your divine consciousness and your shadow side, and all these parts of yourself sort of emerging or coming together into some kind of expression that you don't necessarily need to understand. In fact, Mary Mirabelle is an artist, a beautiful artist of great talent, and often with art, images just emerge. So, you know, like anyone can just start painting and then something emerges, and that is the beauty and the mystery. And when that's really the perfect analogy, and thank you so much for sharing that. So, you know, life is like art. It's a grand mystery and treasure, and it's that creative process which helps us in our awakening and our understanding of energy, and connecting to divine guidance and knowing where we need to go next. Okay, so yeah, I love that art analogy as well. Okay, if anyone else would like to ask or share anything, you're welcome. So I think in the meantime, let's just sort of get centered and focused, and just get our energies sort of in sync. So usually though, through my voice, it carries kinds of transmissions and so on, and it should sort of help you calm down and feel at ease and more relaxed. So just have a sense of your feet on the ground, and if you're sitting on a chair, just feel that sense of groundedness. When I go to do some energy work, please don't do it if you're driving, but just come back to the video at any time later. Okay, so let's see. All right, so let's feel that we're sinking, S-I-N-K, into our chairs. Okay, and into, so I've got to mention the butt again. So they're really, anchor your butt basically is what they're saying. And I was trying to think of other words for that, like bottom. But you know, let's just say butt because that's more of our everyday language, right? So, so really sink that butt in and just feel that sense that you're being anchored. Feel the heaviness of your body and your lower region, your hips and your thighs and all of that, and just feel your feet on the ground. A lot of us have trouble feeling grounded. So that's why the first course I will be launching will be on being grounded, most likely, because you know, so many people need it and I have trouble with it. And so in that course, I'm going to provide lots of different ways to do so. So one of the ways is just very simply just feeling yourself and your body, having body presence and feeling your body and your feet connected to earth. And there's a lot of reasons why being grounded is important, but because all this high energy is coming in, we need to have a foundation. So if you think of your body as a house and just anchor that house down, because this positive hurricane is coming in. Okay, so feel that sense and let's just go through your energy, and I'm just going to push down. I'm not going to do like a full-on chakra clearing. I'm just going to push down any sort of negative energy, anything you want to release, anything that feels heavy and toxic to you. I'm just going to push it down, and then we're going to go slowly down and then through your feet. And then just picture it sink your feet, or that energy sinking right into the earth, and that sinking, S-I-N-K, will be turning to S-Y-N-C, sinking with earth energy. The earth energy, just like think of, and actually, well, I knew that when my kitten completely uprooted my plant this morning, and there was dirt everywhere and all over my table, and I knew it was a message about grounding. So think of that dirt in a positive way of this beautiful, thick earth energy. It's nourishing, okay? And it will take away all the draining, sort of horrible feeling, icky stuff we can carry with us, okay? So let's just think of it as pushing down, all right? So I'm just going to push down, push the head and the energy, and just breathe in and out. Doesn't matter whether you feel it or not. Now you could do this yourself as I'm doing this. If you're sitting somewhere in the comfort of your home, okay, just picture like you're pushing down heaviness. All right, we're just going to work on everybody here who gives permission. Thank you. I always intend to ask permission. Sometimes I forget, but by watching this video, you're already giving permission to do energy work. Okay, so pushing down and out. I'm really feeling that solar plexus. Okay, so that solar plexus just feels so like a big balloon that needs to burst. So just pushing it down. Of course, this is not a full healing, as I said before, for now clearing. Pushing down, okay, we're going to push it down past the knees and feet into the earth. And the earth's just going to drink that up and pull it all out, okay? And just breathe in, and as you breathe out, release down, 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 and out. Okay, feel that heaviness go away. Okay, and then just feel a sense of lightness around you. Okay, so now we're going to do the part where we're going to ask for us all to sink in to the higher energy that is there for us, and to allow anything to ignite that needs to, and to be activated in safe, divine, high ways. Okay, so thank you, archangels, for being here. Thank you, Jesus Christ, Archangel Michael, Mother Mary. Okay, and there's a laugh about the Marys. Okay, so Mother Mary just brings in this beautiful pink energy, which I feel very akin to the rose quartz energy. I meant to have my rose quartz here. It's nearby. So just if you have a rose quartz yourself, spend time with that today or in the next while. I've got another one actually here. Here we go. This one's on my free healing page on my website. And it's just one little crystal can do wonders. Okay. So let's bring in the energy of Jesus Christ, Mother Mary, Archangel Michael, our angels, our guides, our higher selves. So on a soul level, asking that we be divinely protected. So let's surround ourselves in a pink bubble of light using that beautiful rose quartz crystal shade. But you can also add another color or make it purple for divine protection and spirituality, because it is a very spiritual month this month. I mentioned in my April video about personal power. That will be more next month, and also I said for August and so on, and next month. But for now, let's work on our spiritual growth and spiritual strength and spiritual intuition. Okay, so you can picture purple being all around you. All right. So something that came to me this morning as I was lying in bed is to just ask like this. So I can say it for you. You can ask yourself now or in your own time, okay? So I ask that all parts of me be integrated to the higher energy that is here for us now. So may all of our energy bodies be integrated easily, gracefully, safely, and at the perfect rate, speed, and level for each of us personally. Just pay attention to how you're feeling. So we're going to ask that your outer energy body be activated with the higher energy that is there for us. Thank you, angels, for assisting. Feel free to write comments at any time what you might be feeling, or just sink into the energy now and you can comment later. Thank you for activating my third eye to open up to divine wisdom. Thank you for activating, now when I say my, I'm talking about our, so I say our third eye. Thank you for activating our crown chakras so that we can connect with the divine and receive divine downloads, spiritual messages in the highest of light and frequencies to comfort, support us and raise our vibration to the highest level that is safe, perfect for each of us individually. Allow that light to stream in. So imagine you've opened up your crown chakra like a little flap door. Okay, letting go of any resistance, let it go, and allow that light to come streaming in. Now we're going to ask that our throat chakra be activated by the higher energy. And as we go down, because I wasn't going to do this, but this is just what's been coming up. So right now we're going to activate the chakras, but you can still continue to do your own chakra healing. So the feeling is to have a feel, as I go through each one, have a feel of what you might feel, or take notice of anything that might come up for you as we go along. Okay, we're now going to work on activating the heart chakra and allow that heart to open. When I do, it's like, it feels like my heart's just pulsing. It's like flutters, like the floodgates opened is the feeling. Okay, so open up your heart. Sometimes we just shut our heart down, okay? Now, as you do so, picture the back of you also opening up, not just the front, but it's easier to always picture the front, isn't it? So just be open to the sides and the back opening too. Sides are important today, right? Okay, and now picturing, asking for our solar plexus to be activated and to receive the highest frequency light codes that are available for us. And each one working at our own pace and level. There seems to be a lot of releasing through the solar plexus. Okay, now we're going to go down to the sacral and asking that our sacral chakra be activated to allow in for divine creativity and divine breakthroughs and revelations in relationships is what it feels. And now asking our root chakra to be activated and to pour out any worries and stresses that we have about money, security, safety, career, work, that kind of thing. Earth matters, okay? So activating the root chakra at the base of our spine and pelvis area. Now, I talked before about the outer energy body, so let's just activate that again. Let's activate our mental body, activate our brain and all our brain cells. Let's activate our organs, intestines, the innermost parts of ourselves, our skin, allowing for DNA codes, anything that needs to happen on a higher level, to open ourselves up to this energy. So just think of it as little flowers opening up, and it could be on a microscopic level. Let's ask for any activations on any part of our body that needs it, our physical body and our energy body. Activating our emotional body and our spiritual body, all our bodies of energy, okay? And just sitting with that energy. Thank you, angels, for assisting in our divine activations, allowing us to integrate our lower energy with the higher energy and release what we need to let go of. If there's anything that comes up for you, take note and let go. Feeling that sense of peace. And I just looked at the time now, it's at 11:55. So 11 is the number of the activations, like 11:11. 55 is the number I mentioned before about that roller coaster ride, and energy shifts is the number of energy shifts, okay? So activating energy shifts for divine breakthrough, change, transformation, and just allow it to be. If anyone's still sort of feeling negative and all of that, that's all right. You just do things at your own pace, okay? All is well. So releasing that, because sometimes I feel those little thoughts coming through, okay? So just let those go as they do. And Shannon just said, wow, I just had a chill run through my entire body. Beautiful. So let's just activate that some more. Let's connect with that chill and just have that feeling of activating, expanding, outwards, sideways. So let's just go with whatever this means, that the angels have been talking about the sideways business. Let's just go there. Stretching yourself out, and you could even stretch your arms out and just feel that body stretch. Opening up your cavity, so really opening yourself up, and that opens up your heart chakra and it allows the energy to come in. Hi Maria, nice to see you. Okay, and she said, so beautiful, love this. And Maria is someone I bumped into at the shops one day, and we were both strangers and we started talking angels, and nice to see you. Okay, so all right, so open yourself up and just feel like, stretch your body and all of that, and just feel relaxed. Listen to the silence. So I can hear the birds. Isn't that sound of silence so beautiful? Okay. Pure silence. And you know, that's the crux of this month. If you can get a piece of that. Okay, so the angels are they gave me an image of like a mafia guy from a movie saying, I don't know, someone like Al Pacino saying, you want a piece of me? So I don't know why they did that. They probably just want to like throw in some humor, right? Because they're really good at that. But if you can just get a piece of this and expand on that, right, and sideways for this month, do that as much as you can, because that's a key to sinking in. Because when we sink in, we're grounded, we're here, we're on earth. And again, they're reminding me now, that's what the sideways means. The sideways means we're anchoring on earth and we're stretching outwards. And when you think of the earth globe, and I joked about the flat earth theory, right? But think of it, it is flat until it curves, right? If it is indeed a curve. That's the world, the globe, and we're connected to that. So if we're to be the ideal human, the ideal empath light worker, and we've just been switching on and activating our lights. Okay, now picture us all on this earth globe activating our lights, and as we activate our lights, feel that right now. So can you feel that surge of energy? Because I sure do. As we activate them, they go, and this is all sideways. So my lights and yours are all spreading sideways to others. And then other people, without knowing, will receive these little activations themselves. And we're only doing good and good for ourselves first, and then outwards to the world and other people around us. So picture, the angels are saying now, picture that globe and all these lights flashing on, just like when you're in an airplane and you're flying over a vista at night and you see all the lights of buildings and houses, and it looks really beautiful in the night sky. That's how the angels see us when we activate our lights on earth, and that's what's needed, because without the light there is darkness and shadow and shade, and that's what they're providing for us today is these sparkles of light, these seeds, and then it's up to us where we go from that and what we do, and to envision like a bud blooming open. So let's do that now. Let's imagine, Maribel says we're all holding hands. Yes, and I actually have a brief meditation I do similar to that sometimes before I do sessions. So you're very in touch, Mary. For you, it's also about awakening to your divine wisdom, because you've been holding yourself back. That just came through, so take note of that, okay? So as our lights go on, it spreads out to the world. And I've forgotten what I was just saying before. So if someone wants to remind me, because I was just on a little thread before then, or I'll come back to it. Okay. So it's like light workers activating, okay? And the term light workers, I haven't been up to making a video on that yet, but basically it's just if you feel you're here for a reason and you like to help other people and you're doing your little bit in the world, that's all it's about. So it's a time for us to be activated, okay? And we're all on our own little journey doing what we can, but sometimes we need a helping hand, and that's when they remind me about the rope that comes down. And really, they're showing me it has good ease, this rope. It's like I can hear it coming down. It's a thick rope, and it has that sound of like when it's like a hose that's wrapped around that wheel, and it just comes down and there's slack. That kind of sound of slack coming, like it comes down in like a big chute, quick chute. That's what they're showing me. It's easy, the rope's there. And then once we've got hold of it, it's anchored and will be pulled up, okay? Which is really important. Our angels and guides are here to assist us always. So keep those divine lines of communication open, okay? So I'm going to be ending soon. So if there's any last words, questions, comments, let me know how you're feeling with the energy. So just let's go back to that feeling of peace. And again, you can come back to this anytime. Not sure if you can hear the birds, but I can. And it was several years ago where I had a Jesus message related to the birds, which I don't remember what it was the second, but they are divine keys of awakening as well, because the birds are so connected to the divine through their magic, through their flight and their wings. And they're saying it's time to spread our wings out, not to worry, dear ones. You know, you are safe, the time is ripe. And sometimes you feel over-ripened, overburdened, but we're here to pick you up, dust your feathers, and allow you to be on your way. Some of us are wounded little birdies, right? But it's time to fly. And we're safe, we are loved, and we all have a reason for being, okay? So Sam mentioned, the energy is much lighter now. Beautiful, beautiful. And just sink into that further. Outwards and sideways. Now NH has said, when I visualized the rope and I grabbed onto it and was pulled up, I felt an adrenaline rush in my stomach. Beautiful, perfect, absolutely perfect. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for sharing. That's awesome. And Shannon, thank you. Feeling positive and filled with love. Yes, and love is a great word. So the love vibrations, feel that now, because it's the heart emanating. okay? And that's what the rose quartz helps us with. It's love vibrations, and they can just keep rolling out. They're like sound waves, they're showing me, right? And it's coming out to you all, and we can keep staying replenished, keep filling ourselves with love and allowing the love vibrations to come from the universe and ourselves, but making sure we're not deplenishing ourselves and our own resources. So I'd say the final note is remain hooded, protected, insular, and protected, while at the same time stepping out, spreading our wings and radiating outwards. And if we can find a divine balance of that, whether it's at the same time or at different times during the next month, then you're well on your way. Okay. All right. So namaste, lots of love, and I'll just spend a little moment and then we'll switch off. Okay. Okay, talk soon, and you can continue to write comments. Okay, see you soon. Bye.